And moving on to one of the top focus stories that we have been bringing you updates on. It's the big story coming out of UK and the continuing attack on the Hindu community that has spread from Leicester to Birmingham. First, the attack on a Hindu temple and establishment over the weekend that stirred outrage in UK and in India. Now, Times Now has accessed visuals of how a temple in Birmingham was surrounded by a mob of 300+ people chanting Allahu Akbar. They also made obscene gestures at the people assembled inside and by some accounts threw fireworks and bottles at them as well. Now, Times Now has got exclusive images from the Durga Bhawan Hindu temple in Smethwick, Birmingham, shot by horrified temple goers. These images show an aggressive crowd gathered at the boundary of the temple chanting and gesturing. Two men clamber on top of the wall and then one with a red bandana around his neck makes obscene gestures at temple goers assembled inside. Through all of this, the police are seen trying to push back the hate mob. First, listen in to what happened. And it's not as if this was some kind of spontaneous protest. The call to surround the temple was given 24 hours earlier. What followed was several hours of tense temple goers taking refuge inside the building as a mob chanted outside, gestured and got into a standoff with the police. According to a local Sky News correspondent, bottles and firecrackers were also chucked inside. Finally, the police was able to disperse the mob. But after what has happened in Leicester and Birmingham, people of the Hindu community remain on the edge. Now, especially, of course, there are threats being issued openly to the Hindu community. Listen in.
Yo, this is a message from Birmingham to all the BJP and the RSS Hindutva supporters. You're not welcome in Birmingham, you're not welcome in Leicester, you're not welcome in Nottingham, you're not welcome anywhere in the UK. None of your speakers, anyone you're trying to call these hate speakers that come down, we're going to turn up for all of them. So stop organising. We're here now, outside the Mandir. It's a peaceful protest, we're not causing no trouble. But we turned up just to let you know if you come down, we're all going to be here for you. Look, show them, look around, even the speakers cancelled. Look how many men have turned up. We've got no issue with Hindus that are from Britain. We've got no issue with British Hindus. We grew up with them, we know all of them. But the rest of you BJP, RSS freshies, if you come in, you're going to get met by us every single time. So if you want to come to Birmingham, Leicester, Nottingham, London, just give us a time and a place and we're there.
And for the first time on Indian TV, Times Now in fact gets you eyewitness accounts of those who were inside the Durga Bhawan temple in Birmingham. For the first time you can hear first-hand what happened and how a violent, hostile mob surrounded the temple and intimidated those inside. Let me take you straight across to Ajay and Vijay. These are not their real names. We have chosen to hide and protect their identity because they live in fear. A threat now seems to be there on their lives even now. All right, let's start with our first eyewitness from Birmingham, Ajay, who in fact chooses to be anonymous for the purposes of this interview. Ajay, let me ask you, what did you see in Birmingham outside the Durga temple?
So when I turned up around 5 p.m. Before I turned up, there was already a video being made and a statement was issued by members of the committee at the temple, along with the interfaith leaders. So we had people from the Christian church, we had the imam from the local mosque, and we had a few Sikh guys from the Sikh temple. And they all got together and they issued a message of peace and brotherhood, and that there was no issue and no tension going on at the temple, and for people not to turn up to protest. so a clarification was already issued. However, the protest was planned for later on that day, 5:30. So I turned up at 5 p.m. And there was already the regular temple committee members and a few of us youngsters from the mandir were there as well. At that time, the situation seemed under control, and everybody was just there discussing what to do and what not to do. There wasn't much police presence at that time, and so we pretty much thought that everything was sorted out at that time. And it was only about an hour later that things started to get a bit nasty, and a lot of people started turning up from outside. They were wearing balaclavas, wearing masks, wearing hoodies. They started gathering on the opposite side, behind the temple, near to a petrol station. And they were driving past on cars, beeping their horns, making noise, saying things. And then obviously a few phone calls were made to the police, and the police started arriving on the scene. And then more and more people, protesters started coming, and they started getting a bit out of control. They started getting really loud and unruly. At one point they started throwing bricks and bottles into the temple premises, and there was a few cars that were smashed as well. The police came and they controlled the situation. And then the protesters sent a few representatives from their side to talk with the committee members at the temple. And they were very intimidating, very threatening. And they wanted an apology from the temple.
Okay.
And obviously there was a heated argument. There was a bit of a debate.
Let's also go across, Ajay, stay with us. Let's also go across to Vijay. Again, this is a pseudonym. This is not the real name of the people that we are taking. We're just taking these names to protect their identity. And Vijay, I want you to tell us what's the situation on ground at the moment right now. Is there tension? Can you also tell us who are the people protesting? Do you know these individuals? Can you share some details of what they were chanting at that moment outside the temple?
Yeah, of course. There is a huge sense of fear, anxiety, and worry within Hindu community in UK, where they are being systematically targeted for just following their ways of living and practicing their religion and carrying on with their day-to-day life. And fake propaganda is being promoted by Islamists, left media, I would say, by using the word Hindutva ideology, which is nothing else than our peaceful Hinduism, which believes in coexistence. And such things are happening right in front of the system, police, politicians, and nobody is trying to counter it. And of course, it is being resonated by left media, or whatever you can call it, Islamist sympathizer media and things like that, which is really worrisome. That rather than, so if you see the series of events, our temple were attacked, our flag was burnt, our the flag was thrown and broken as well in Leicester Temple. After and mob attacked, and after all those things, Hindus are being, trying to be pictured as, because of us things happen, where we have done anything wrong, and so forth. So I don't understand what kind of narrative is happening, and it is all collusion with this well-planned system which is there in place. Somewhere, I believe, no confirmed stuff, there is a huge hand of ISI sleeper cell here who just come out with one call, and all these people are, well prepared, well masked.
Yeah, stay with us. Stay with us. Vijay, please stay with us, because I want to put this question across to Ajay about who these people were. Now, if you can tell us, Ajay, were these people a mob of a particular community? How many people were present? What exactly were they saying? Can you tell us some more?
Yeah. So there's approximately about 200 people there. They were obviously of Muslim origin, mainly Pakistanis. They were mainly youngsters. They probably got no jobs, probably not doing much with their lives. They've got a lot of time to waste. So they've come and they've started chanting slogans, Allahu Akbar and Nare Takbir, I don't know, these kind of, some slogans I don't understand. And basically being very threatening, very intimidating, trying to climb the gates of the temple, trying to get in, throwing bricks, throwing firecrackers, throwing bottles, this kind of thing. In the end, we had to tell the women and the children to go inside the temple for their own protection and own security, while us youngsters, along with the police, are trying to control the situation outside. And to be fair, nobody from our side retaliated.
Okay.
We remained very calm.
Okay, let me take that question across to Vijay. In fact, Vijay, at the moment, what would you tell us about, the safety, particularly of yourself and that of other members of the Hindu community? Has the police so far been helpful?
So, yeah, so as I said, there was a flyer going around in, I think Muslim group that they need to gather outside this temple. We need to show our unity to this RSS and Hindutva extremists and so forth. So based on that, we started reporting to police, and we as a community people gathered in our temple to show our unity and call for calm. But they started gathering in huge numbers from across West Midlands, not even Birmingham. There are news that people gathered from across Midlands and UK, maybe from London as well, but mostly from Midlands, to gather in huge number to intimidate us, to scare us, behave like hooligans, and create havoc really. But luckily, police were there on time. They enhanced their security as well. This was not like Leicester, what happened, where in front of police, flag was torn down, burnt, sloganeering and hitting, and so it was very bad in Leicester. But this time police were able to control it, but still they were throwing hand bombs, which is like the firecrackers at them, bottles inside the temple were thrown as well. Luckily no one were injured because we were trying to be away from that area. But of course, if police were not there, the picture would have been different completely.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's what happened.
Right. And in fact, let me take that across to Ajay. Ajay, in fact, can you also explain to us why exactly were these protesters seeking an apology from you? What really happened before this?
So the story behind this matter is, I don't know if you know, but there's somebody called Sadhvi Rithambara. She's a well-known Sadhvi from India. She comes she visits UK pretty much every other year, so she's quite regular. And she has a charity organisation which she raises money for. She does a lot for orphan kids in India. She educates them, she gives them shelter. And so she comes and she does a pravachan quite regular at the temple. And so this has never happened before. This has never ever happened before. But what's happened is some people have tried to link this to the Leicester situation, and just to add fuel to the fire. So, but anyway, this event was not even going to happen because it was cancelled anyway. And the committee had already, the committee had already put out a few weeks ago that this event was cancelled. So anyway, so she wasn't even going to come. And some people have obviously used this as ammunition, just to organise the protest and just to, they want to basically spread what's happening in Leicester to various other towns of Britain, towns and cities, where people are pretty much living in peace. There's no issues really.
And let me get in Vijay on this other aspect as well. Vijay, can you take our viewers through what exactly you saw outside of the temple in Birmingham?
So I was there at the temple, of course, watching this happen yesterday. And within Hindu community, there is a sense of fear, I would say. worriness. We are, we are actually worried about the wrong propaganda which is being propagated. I would not use the word scared. We are proud of who we are, but again, it sends a wrong signal within our community. And of course, you can understand how family behaves, and they are really worried about the safety. And Leicester, you have seen and what happened, directly on the street. So it's not that bad that they are walking across the streets. They were targeting that temple yesterday to send out, or I would use the word terrorize us. Really, that's what it was. But police were able to control and disperse them. We were standing our ground without showing any provocation from our side, though a few members were really willing to go out there and talk to them and put our things. But yeah, faith leaders did talk to each other to calm things down, and our community people call for calm worked, and police were helpful as well. Yes.
Well, Ajay and Vijay, I'd like to thank you both for joining us and in fact putting at risk, of course, your identities. I certainly hope that you're both safe, your families are safe as well, and the police does get down to doing its duty as far as this particular case is concerned. Thank you so much for sharing with us your experience in Birmingham. Times was also the only channel to report from the temple attack site in Birmingham. Take a look at the situation on ground at the moment.
We are here at ground zero where it all happened, where the tension is palpable even as attempts have been made to keep the peace. First it was Leicester and now it's Birmingham. There's tension in these parts, though there hasn't been yet a repeat of what happened in Leicester, where members of the Hindu community were subjected to a siege. There is increasing concern that hinduphobia, now a global phenomenon, is expanding its wings. In Birmingham, an organization called Apna Muslims called for what they called a peaceful demonstration outside the Durga Bhawan temple in Smethwick area of the city. It was hardly peaceful. As per accounts, 3,000 Muslims were known to have surrounded the temple. Slogans of Allahu Akbar were chanted and attempts were made to climb atop the barrier separating the temple from the protesters. So you can see, this is the temple, this is Durga Bhawan at Birmingham. And this is Wasikar for Times Now.
Well, some shocking testimonies and pictures coming in there from Birmingham after Leicester. For the moment, we're going to slip into a very quick break. The news and updates will continue on the other side. Stay tuned.